People who've watched my channel for a while have noticed that not only has my physical appearance changed a lot, but so has my voice. Or that you've newly acquired it, but when you tell people that it's actually from your family. And this is no accident. Your voice is an incredibly important part of who you are. I would argue it's almost as important, if not more important, than your physical appearance. The tonality of your voice and the way you speak drastically impacts both the first impression that others have and the way you will be remembered. The biggest misconception most people have is that your voice is just the one you're born with and there's nothing you can do to change or improve it. Or people think that if you do change your voice, then you're kind of acting or you're being fake. But your voice is not who you are. Your voice is just a set of behaviors, just a series of physical movements and emotional states that create a sound. So you can change your voice to sound more masculine, to sound more authoritative, and to be a better storyteller. It's just the same as changing certain parts of your personality around certain people in order to become more charismatic, to become better in business or in dating. The way you should go about changing your voice is not necessarily the way you might think. For example, if you want a deeper voice, don't go around trying to put on a deep voice. It sounds completely ridiculous. However, there are many things that we can do to enhance the voice, including ways to make it sound deeper, more resonant, and more masculine. So the first step is to see your voice as an instrument. This is my instrument of choice here, the guitar. If we play the guitar in the same way that most people play their voice, it's very boring. For example, we can just stay on the same pitch, at the same rhythm, at the same volume, all the time. And not only is this slightly irritating, but it could also lull you to sleep. We want to play the voice in the same way that a guitarist plays the guitar. We have variations in pitch. We have a rhythm. We even have variations in volume. All of these things are the difference between mere sound and music. And the things that we can do with our voice are the difference between simply speaking words and being an orator. Unlike a guitar, luckily your voice can't go out of tune. Growing up, I spent a lot of time in Wales, and if you're familiar with the Welsh accent, you'll know that they kind of sing when they speak. They have a lot of variation in pitch.
And he's a remarkable man. He's 73.
They don't have extremes of variation, like going from very low to very high. Instead, they just have a gentle melody to the way they speak. And this makes what they say not only sound more engaging, but also much more charming. And the majority of men make the mistake of being too monotonous when they talk, especially when they're trying to come across as more masculine and more serious. They have a tendency to remain on one pitch with every single word, and it sounds quite boring. So don't be afraid to allow some emotion to come through with your voice and use more variation in pitch. Something that really changed the way I speak and the way I use my voice was understanding the texture and timbre of my voice. You can think of this like there are two ends of a spectrum. On one end, we have a very breathy way of talking. A lot of air is being released when we speak this way, and the throat is very open. Then on the other hand, we have the very thin and very closed throat position. So this actually makes the voice a lot louder, but as you can hear, it has that kind of nasal quality to it. Typically, Americans are more thin and more nasal, whereas Brits have this tendency to be very breathy and loose. And when I took lessons to be a jazz singer, one of the first things that my instructor picked up on was that my voice, particularly my singing voice, was overly breathy. Thinning out my voice, actually closing up the throat slightly, makes it not only easier to actually get the words out without running out of breath, but it can even make your voice sound deeper and more masculine. So to give you an example, when my voice was more breathy and lightweight, I'd be giving a lot of energy away and I'd run out of breath quite quickly. And even though I'm actually speaking at a fairly low pitch, it sounds slightly effeminate and relaxed. Whereas when I just tighten that thing up, I'm actually speaking on the exact same pitch right now, but everything resonates much more clearly. And if you want an example of a man who really uses the thin part of his voice to his advantage, Roger Moore is a great example of this.
Keeping the British end up, sir.
So those are the things that we can do to change the quality of our voice. Variations in timbre, in texture, pitch and rhythm. But now let's talk about what you say and how you articulate yourself. Most men would benefit from slowing down more and engaging their brain before speaking. Take just a half a second step back before making a sentence to form it in your mind. This is very much a mental habit that becomes second nature the more you get used to doing it. When you do this, two things are going to happen. First, you will become much more articulate. There will be fewer pauses, there will be fewer ums and ahs, so's, you knows and likes in your sentence. And I'm guilty of using all of these words to myself, but I notice that I use them much more when I am perhaps nervous or I haven't taken that half a second pause to construct the sentence in my mind. But secondly, when you slow down, that allows your body to relax. And the more relaxed and open your body is, the greater your sound hole, the more resonance you can produce, and the richer and bolder your voice becomes. Another important step to take is to improve your articulation. It's okay to have an accent. That can actually be part of your charm. But it's important to be understood. Make sure you are actually pronouncing each letter in each word the way it's meant to be pronounced. And for those of you learning English as a second language, there may be certain sounds in spoken English that simply don't exist in your native language. For example, Spanish speakers often struggle with making the V sound because that's pronounced more like a B in Spanish. There are exercises and tongue twisters that you can do to get your mouth used to producing these sounds. Remember, your voice is not who you are, it's not your soul. Your voice is simply a set of behaviors, and part of those behaviors are physical movements with your mouth and your tongue. Practice is what will set the correct behaviors in motion. So how do you practice? How do you become better at speaking? Well, I've tried a variety of methods. I found that my singing lessons were actually very helpful in understanding what was going on inside my voice. I've also previously spoken about the public speaking group Toastmasters. However, in my personal experience, these groups are often rather dead, particularly after COVID, and honestly rather boring to sit through their meetings. So the best thing that I genuinely believe you can do is what I've done. And this is how I've improved my voice almost by accident, and that is to simply record yourself talking. And when you watch yourself back or listen to it back, you might be surprised to notice, I don't really pronounce that letter properly in those words, or I hurry through what I'm saying too much, or my voice sounds too nasal, my voice sounds too breathy. There is so much to analyze and it will take time. It's taken over 1 year for my voice to go from what it was when I started making YouTube videos to the place where it is now. And I'm sure that I will continue to evolve and adapt my voice as I continue to improve and I keep learning. But I do genuinely believe if you take all of the principles that I've explained in this video and then you make a regular practice of listening to yourself speak and analyzing it, you yourself will identify what needs to change, and you will change naturally, slowly, and gradually over time. But I can say this with almost absolute certainty. If I hadn't begun a YouTube channel, and if I wasn't in the practice of regularly listening to my voice and subconsciously analyzing it, I'd still be speaking the way I was over a year ago. Gentlemen, let me know in the comments if you've enjoyed this video and if your voice is something that you are looking to improve. It's been slightly a different kind of a video today, but I think this one was really important and much needed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.